Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Doman International's weekly webinar. It's called Start the Week with Spencer. And parents of children with special needs tune in from all around the world to ask us their most important and challenging questions about their children, and we do our best to answer them. And, in this new year, we are making an attempt to bring parents on to talk about their experiences with the program, give other parents insights and recommendations from what they've learned along the journey of doing the Doman Method with their child. And so I'm very happy that we have one of those parents today. Now, today's session is special. This year we've decided we're going to do specific sessions for certain countries. And so we consider this our India episode. We did an episode last month for Norway, which was great. And so it's fantastic. India is one of our most represented countries in the world doing the Doman Method. And we see families twice a year in New Delhi and in Bangalore. And we've been going to India, I believe, since 2014. So it's our 11th year now going to India. So we are very, very excited to have an episode focused on such a wonderful country. So joining me today, we have a few very important people. So I have, of course, Colleen Hudson, who's here with me every week, who's our Director of Representatives. I have Jagjit Kaur, who is the CEO of the Doman India Charitable Foundation, which is a charitable foundation in India that helps families access the Doman Method. But just as important as that, Jagjit is a Doman Method coach herself. She specializes in cognitive development programs and has been coaching families for the last 10 years. And then we have Vidya here. Vidya has named herself the mom, which is great. And Vidya is here to talk about her experience of being a mom on the Doman Method. Vidya, thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Spencer. Thanks.
So, Colleen and Jagjit, I'll start with some questions for Vidya. But of course, if you have any questions for her, jump in at any time and ask them. So, Vidya, would you mind just start by maybe talking about your experience? Well, maybe talk a little bit about your journey before you found the Doman Method. When was it that you really realized your daughter had developmental issues? Tell us about the diagnosis and that process.
Sure. So I think when she was around maybe 23, somewhere between 22 to 30 months, that's when we started seeing the symptoms. And it was me and my husband, we spotted the symptoms and we kind of checked with a pediatrician saying that, hey, these are some of the early signs of autism. And we actually relocated outside of India in 2015. So we had our child in 2016. So it was a new country. So we just, wanted to be sure that we are not overthinking much about it. So we just did 3-4 consultations, but the assessment was very, consistent. So that's when we found out that, she was under the spectrum. And so that's when our journey started, right? So trying to understand what kind of support the child would need. So it started with basic occupational therapy, the typical usual, solutions that you would hear. So it was occupational, a little bit of ABA, and slowly we got into speech therapy as well. So as and when she grew, I think all these three helped her a little bit in terms of, very basic things. So she was able to take instructions. She was able to understand, basics of, her daily routines and stuff like that. So I think that's how our journey started, Spencer.
Yeah.
Prior to
what were the first? You mentioned you noticed certain symptoms that seemed like they might be kind of typical autistic symptoms. So what were those?
So symptoms would be typically tiptoeing or looking at an object and showing a particular very keen interest only towards certain kind of objects. For her, it was a very long pencil or a stick or anything which was that kind of had an imagery. Then, tiptoeing was very frequent. Uh, Stopped responding to her name, and sometimes the repeated hand movements, flapping that you would see in some of the children. So some of them were very, very evident in the beginning. Those were the symptoms.
Hmm. And how old was she when you learned about the Doman method, and how did you find out about the program?
So Google, so it just Doman just appeared on my Google search. So that's how I was, introduced to Doman method. So I did my research. So I think at some point, with all the therapies that was going on for my child, which I mentioned earlier, I think somewhere there was too much focus on behaviors, behavioral management, behavioral improvement, learning skills and so on. But somehow I just missed that, something which was connecting all of it. Somewhere I think, she wasn't able to do math simply because she couldn't understand math. That for me, that was the primary, understanding of, based on my parent experience for those 2.5 years. So that's when I think, when I discovered Domin, it, kind of, of course, I went through the detailed 1 month program, training program that you guys had at that point of time. And there are a lot of questions, that popped up in my head. I spoke to Jagjit, connected with so many parents, before I made the decision to, start off this program. So I set myself up for about, I said to myself, 12 to 18 months. So, I mean, I was doing a full fledged job. So basically, not for Domin, I quit. I actually, took a break, thinking I wanted to spend more time with the kid and try and see what would help her more. Because somewhere I felt that she was, somewhere it was becoming a little bit stereotypical of her just to do what we were telling her to do. And Somewhere I did not get a lot of answers for when will she start verbalizing, or typical parent would would want to know, right? Okay, when will my child start speaking? When can she start learning, let's say alphabets? When can she learn numbers or math, do some basic math? So I had the typical same parent questions which you guys would often face. So I think, there was no answers to any of that. And I think the refreshing change that I saw, at least in the Dominant method, was uh, focusing on, the concept that at any point of time your brain can heal. So it really resonated well with me, and it opened up a different world, as to say. I mean, now I can say that, I think I've really realized there is a different world out there. So this journey started when Adya was, I think, September 2022. We came for the assessment. That's when we created a baseline profile for Adya. Where was she? And then that's where our journey started. So my first appointment was in Delhi. So we created a baseline, understood what was the actual diagnosis, the level of injury, and the details that you would typically share. So that's where it started. So I'll pause there. You would want me to. So
Well, so
that's
when you came for the first visit in 2022, how old was Adya, and how much was she speaking at that point?
Yeah, she had just turned 6, and at that point of time, I think words were one words. I mean, single words, and rarely trying to express herself. But she was largely into sign language because that's what she was taught largely in ABA. So she was able to express her some of her needs. I would not say all at that point of time. So that's how very, very limited verbal skills. So, for example, she wouldn't be able to explain her discomfort if there is any, or if she wants something, it will be a cry or a. I mean, it has to be a guess, from my end. So all the time I'll have to keep guessing. Okay, what is this? So I'll have to look at the clock. Is it, a food related issue, or is it a sleep related? So that's how it used to be that point of time when we started on the program.
And when you started the after coming to Doman International for the assessment in 2022, what were the first programs, the first treatments you started, and what were the first changes you started to notice with Adya?
I think See, Adya, I think, I mean, till date, she's been very voluntarily doing all the programs, that anything that has been introduced to her. So that's something, such a relief as a parent. So there is nothing that I have done. I mean, it's simply her own efforts that she's picked up every single program. So we started off with the very basic, which we were introduced to. In the physical programs, we had the creeping and crawling. That's the first time I realized, when Jagjit assessed Adya, she said her walk is not necessarily correct. The creeping, crawling, I really realized how important those milestones were, as a parent. You just don't realize how critical those milestones are when the child is growing, and somewhere we just think that yes, the child is maybe she started walking, so you never realize that, oh, this is critical. And you see around in your family or in your extended families, friend circle, nobody thinks about these things. So nobody, I for the first moment, it hit me so hard that creeping, crawling is so important. And for getting a bit brain organized, as a child develops. That was first realization. Second, I think, when Jibji told me that, she isn't walking well, her walk is, so that threw me off completely. So that September evaluation, actually, while it was great to be aware of so many things, it literally made me feel that, for a moment, that, oh, you did not get your basic parenting, skills in place. So it was typically that kind of a shake up that happened. So walk was very basic. So I never realized that her walk was not, uh, did not meet the expectations, for the age. So I never realized, and to my eyes, I never knew that, she climbing downstairs, she had issues. We just assumed that, oh, typically when the child is rushing down, the child needs a support, and hence she's just clinging onto my hand. That's what a typical parent does. So I think all of those normal, situations that you encounter as a parent, where those moments of, things where the skills, when Jagjeet narrated, created that baseline of where are their skills are. So I think those were some of the, things that really, brought in that awareness of how important those, developmental milestones were for me, specifically as a parent.
And so, can you talk a little bit about how her development has been over the last 2 years? I mean, maybe it's just a sense of where she was before and then now.
Sure. So before, I think everything was a guess game for me. If I have to look at my role as a parent, and for Adya, I think, if I have to really look at Adya's, what she would have been thinking at that point of time, she would have been thinking, okay, nobody understands me. I'll have to cry and get the attention. This is my only way of. Largely, I think life was like that. To fast forward to now, post 2 years, I think, she feels at least, okay, I'm being heard. If in a, we're having lunch together, okay, if I want an extra portion of something, I can ask for it verbally. She can place a request, today, to most of the things that her needs. Even she can request a song, when we are going in a car, she would request a particular song. So it is so she feels valued, I think, which, is very important. I've realized it's so important. We just miss out all of this when a child normally grows, but in my case, I think I've realized it's so important. Her quality of life, of course, I can see it's improved, so she doesn't have the need to throw a tantrum or a cry, which you typically see. So I think 1 year into the program, I could feel that, I think when I came in for my second review, I think life had completely changed. So that was my summary to both you, Spencer, and Jagjeet. I think, it was a complete turnaround. A child who was able to express her basic need for sleep, for food. I don't want to do this, or I'm tired, I want to sleep now in between the program, or I want to go to the park, I don't want to go to the park, and I'm okay with it. So I think she was able to, understand that, yes, this is the way to communicate. If I communicate, I'm being heard. So I think quality of life, especially for me and her, improved a lot, because I'm the one, largely around, her. So I think, she understood that, okay, mom really understands me. So I could see that, she was always a happy child, but I think this part where, especially the communication, she was struggling a lot. I think I could see a drastic shift in she wanting to understand and listen into you more. So it kind of made me feel that she had a lot more attention. She paid attention to a lot more to what was happening around her. She calmed down a little bit. She started laughing about. So, for example, at some situations, you feel very funny, and you start enjoying. You would be. I could see that she started doing all of those normal things which we see in kids or adults. So I think she started enjoying those moments if there is something funny happening in the place in the house. So I think she was a lot more calmer child. She was willing to understand and listen, and she was willing to learn. um, I think a lot of things got normalized for her. So, okay, it is okay to request. It is not necessarily only for me. I think there is a way things happen around you. So, I think she started. So life, if I have to simply summarize, I think for me it became a very normal life as a parent. I think I stopped guessing and I started communicating more with her with some of the tools that I learned, be it the choice board initially to just to start get her verbalized to where she is today. So I think today my prompting has limited so much. It comes very naturally for her to communicate. She goes to a school readiness program. She just started a month back, and she interacts with teachers from very different cultural backgrounds. There are teachers who speak Mandarin and Cantonese as their primary language, which means their English would be very different than mine. So she is able to pick up, and I have not been the facilitator. I can't enter the school premises specifically. So they get to work on settling the kids, helping them to adjust to the new environment. So as usual, she surprised me with doing everything by herself, whether it's her toileting needs, whether it's her she's hungry or she needs more food or she needs a break. She's feeling tired. She's been able to express everything, and she has four different teachers from very different cultural backgrounds. She's been able to pick up their communication, their instructions, and so she goes for a 3 hours session every day, and she's coped up well. From there to I actually, if I have to say, I've said this to Jagjit a lot of times. So you just somewhere, I think you limit yourself, or you start. I don't think we do it to ourselves as parents. You just start thinking. You don't think. You stop thinking that what are the possibilities for your child when you're diagnosed with any of the conditions that are there out there, right? I think you just stop thinking. So if somebody had told me that she would read or write, I would be, I wouldn't have believed it. So today, what has happened, is nothing short of, I would say, a miracle. So she can communicate. She can, read commercial books. In the program, how we are transitioning from the homemade books to commercial books. She's been enjoying the stories. She really picks up on the story nuances. When someone is getting hit, someone is falling on the ground, she's able to enjoy all of those moments. She's able to answer questions from those stories. She can still needs help facilitated, she types, but she enjoys the whole process. And she plays, she does the program with me, I mean, me as a student, and she so we do role reverses as well. For example, the latest program that you guys have asked us to do is the number sequence. So I ask her, can you ask me, you say the numbers, I'll repeat it for you. So she does it very happily because she feels a little bit empowered that, oh, I can do this to you. So it has come to that extent. A child who is all the time screaming, crying and nothing else, to what it is today is really a great progress. So that's been my experience as a parent.
And so, Jagjit, maybe just for me to ask you a question, because you met Adya at her first evaluation. I didn't get to meet her until her second evaluation. What are the areas of her development and her change that stand out most to you?
I met Adya and I did the evaluation. So I want to tell you that Vidya was first parent who knew a lot about what is going on with the child, but at the same time, it is something that every parent goes through when they are given a diagnosis. they are also told that this is a problem which will stay for lifelong, or this is a problem which will not get better in next 2 3 years. You will really have to work hard. Now you just have to look after your kid with special needs, and that's it. That's what you have to do. So when I did Adya's first evaluation, I showed the profile to Vidya and, of course, the dad. And I showed them all the levels and I told them, okay, I'm going to explain you each and every level. I'm going to evaluate your child. But at the same time, if you feel that, okay, your child didn't creep or crawl, and that's a good thing, then please take out this thought from your mind that this is a good thing. It's not a good thing, because a child's development needs to go from one milestone to another, and it is a step by step procedure. And if they miss anything, that is not a good sign. It just gives like that period has gone where the brain is going to organize more. So when I met Adya, Adya was all around the place. She was very hyperactive. She never used to sit at one place. In the evaluation, like if I used to, like, I just kind of touched her and sit down. If I'll say sit down, then she will actually scream, or she'll just go around. That's it. And I could see that a lot of things are bothering her. She's very hypersensitive to sounds, and it's really bothering her, and it's really preventing her from sitting at one place. Her understanding was only up till the mark where I'm just saying single words. And I have seen in the evaluation that Vidya was doing some sign language, and then she was fine. Like she was making a sign for sit on the sofa, on the couch, and then she was sitting, but it was like just for a few seconds. She was not very aware of her surroundings. Her language was like limited to one word or two words. I could not hear a lot of things in the evaluation. It was a 2.5 hours evaluation. And yes, I could see that, okay, physical part is something else, but her understanding was very, very limited, very low compared to her age. Her language was very poor, so there was no language in one way. Her convergence was a big problem. So, like, she was not able to give eye contact. And if I asked her to give eye contact, it was for few seconds. And I could see that both the parents were like just like around Adya just to make her sit so that they can be a good evaluation. But she was not in that place. She was not comfortable, and it was like getting very difficult for her to go through the evaluation. So we really did the evaluation with lots of breaks so that Adya is comfortable, and then we can do it. So definitely the understanding, the language, the awareness was very poor. The hyperactivity was very high. There was no reading involved. She was not able to read. And of course, I could see that she is looking around the place with from the corner of her eyes, and there are convergence issues we normally discuss in the course.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I do want to say, if there are any parents joining this webinar now, feel free to go into the comments and just, if you have any questions for Vidya or for the staff for that matter, you can go ahead and write them in the comment box, and we'll answer them in order. And yeah, just to talk about my experience with Adya, I mean, I met Adya 6 months after she started the Doman Method, so I never got to really see her at the beginning. But if I reflect on where she was then compared to now, my experience was fairly similar to Jagjit's. She was often in constant movement in my office, and she was often more interested in what was going on outside than what was happening inside of the office. So, for example, she often wanted to kind of like stare out and watch the Delhi traffic outside of the office, which I have to say, Delhi traffic is pretty interesting. But at a certain point, she was much more locked in on things that were going on outside than the communication and interactions that were happening inside the office. And if I compare that then to where she is now, she's far more connected now. She's much more comfortable sitting, talking, interacting with us during evaluations. You can just see she's far more comfortable. And to Vidya's point as well, her cognition has greatly improved. I mean, she's she's reading now, she's doing math, and she shows off those abilities, which is really great.
I want to add one thing, Spencer, because I'm the staff coach here. I'm actually Adya's staff coach. So when I saw her for the first time, as I told you, this was the situation. But of course, I was seeing her on every monthly call. But when I saw her after 6 months in her second evaluation, she was a different child. She had improved in many areas where I was telling you that she was not like poor. Her understanding was much better. Her vision was much better. Her awareness was much better. This time she was able to sit, and I could see that she wants to take interest, which was never there in the first appointment. So, just to add to what you told me right now.
Thanks, Jags. And yeah, for everyone who's joining late, we've been talking about the experience of starting the Doman Method with a child who has an autism diagnosis, and Adya was 6 when she started the program. Okay, I do see there's one person on Instagram who said they have a question, but they haven't sent it in yet, so we'll wait for that. Vidya, so out of interest, if you what do you recommend to other parents out there if they are interested in the program or asking you questions? What kind of guidance do you usually give to them?
Jagjeet has connected me with so many parents who were, wanting to check about Domin like I did, and before enrolling. So I've always said, first thing is, never shut the doors. They never conclude, never put a full stop saying that this is all it is, right? So just don't do that, for yourself. Forget about the child. Don't say that, this is it. Second, I've said that if you pick up Domin, right, I've told them that don't think it's going to be easy. So I've been very realistic saying that, it's not an easy program because I've done it, for 2+ years now. I've finished my 4 assessments with you guys. So I know this is not going to be easy, but also third, what stands out is, what else? You know what solutions are available. You've tried out everything. Nothing has worked. So what other possibilities? So let's keep it real, right? So for me, I think keeping it real really matters. Take one step at a time. Okay, there is a new program. Look at it. Understand the program. Check with your coach if you're not able to, kind of get a hang around it. Move forward. Involve your child as much as possible. So for me, initially when I started off, I think it was very critical at the beginning. I got it right, thankfully, that I would really treat Adya as a matured, adult. Technically, I will tell her, even now, when I have introduced 2 months back when we finished the assessment, I told her this is called number sequence. This is what we are going to do with the program. This is how we do it. So then the child gets onboarded right from the beginning, even the stage that Jagjeet explained after the first assessment, right? So I used to creep and crawl with her on the floor. She would never lie down on a table for for a patterning exercise. So patterning, I've heard similar stories from other parents. So I think the patience, I think some of the skills that we need, we are not, parents. Yes, your philosophy states that yes, parents are the best teachers, but we are not we are not wired to be professional teachers. None of us were. So when I left my HR consulting job, when I did this, it was all Greek and Latin for me. So I have to say that I have learned this along with Adya. So I have learned from her cues. So I think getting the child involved as a parent. So I think 3 things that I said is Domin is going, never, shut the door saying this is all it. If had I done that, I would never realized that, my daughter can read and my daughter can enjoy, reading commercial books. I would have had no clue about this had I not, tried this program. Second, I think so never close the doors. Second, I think you need to find the resilience in whatever works for you. So I think this is going to be a long journey. So please, uh, be prepared for it. I'm trying my best. So I've completed successfully 2 years, still going on. So I have heard so many parents, so many forums that Morgan does for us. In the other telecasts and sessions that she runs, I've heard parents who have done the program for 15 years, for 12 years. So many programs. Parents who have done for more than a decade. So third, I think, ensure that your child is involved and treat them. I have found that treating your child as equals, when I say equal, treat them for their age. So I have always, never realized, you know, the impact that this can create. So from the beginning, I've never assumed my child could not understand. So I've always thought that yes, she can understand. With that approach, I've introduced every single new program. So if I'm right, I think we would have done more than almost, if I recall, 25 programs in the last four, assessments. I think we would have, I mean, we are doing some, but I'm sure we would have tried 25 different programs. So all of this, I wouldn't have, been able to administer it or facilitate it if the child was not, interested. So, and my child is one that she would never do unless and until she understands, even in spite of her lower levels of cognition, she would never do anything if you force her to do. So you'll have to get her to understand the dynamics of the program, what is expected, what is the fun part for you, and what is the challenge. So I think you'll have to find that, what's in it for the child, and whatever works for your child, I think you'll have to get the child involved. So that is what I have found, that has worked for me always. So I think that's what I would suggest on the program and for the parent.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And I think you touched on a lot of things there that are common concerns of parents when they come into the program. Can I motivate my child to do the different things at home? Do I have the qualities as a parent to be able to coach my kid? I think those are common concerns and fears. Out of interest, I'm not sure if you've ever given this much thought, but you have been doing the program, as you said, for 2 years, the Doman Method for 2 years. How do you keep yourself motivated?
By listening to parents who have been doing it for more years. So I keep I do that. So sometimes, because I'm in a very different time zone, I'm 11 hours ahead of you guys, so I keep listening to the recorded sessions what Morgan does. Some sessions I'm able to participate if it's morning, but otherwise, that network of parents has really been a big change personally for me. I think I would like to call out that I've thanked Morgan several times for doing that, because see, somewhere, let's realize it. This population of parents is a very less population, whether we like it or not, right? And this population, doesn't have that same amount of friends that you can lean on. See, I can go and have a chit chat with my friend, yeah, but there are days that there are not great days. I would have had a rough day with my child. My program would have not happened properly. I would have not been in the best of my spirits. So I think tapping on to some of the resources, some of the parent experiences have been really very beneficial for me, be it I think mentally, for my own well-being, I must call that out. And second, it keeps you going. So it makes you feel very clearly that you're not alone. It's not the only one. You're not the only one where the child is not necessarily maybe doing the program. Try out different ways you get. So I think this group has been extremely resourceful for me when we started off the WhatsApp group. And second was, so it kind of, so I actually personally took it as a target. Okay, at least in a quarter I should have two new parent friends, whom I'm checking with, or exchanging my views, asking some of my questions that I. So I think this has become a place where I go to, it has become a first place where I go to seek advice, to seek alternatives, etc. So that way, I think that's been a great resource. Second, I think the sessions Morgan does, it really keeps your hope alive, and makes you, of course, gives you the confidence, your dreams, your what you visualize, of course you work towards it, it would become a reality. I'm a firm believer of that. So I think those are the two things that stand out for me in the community that we've tried creating through Doman.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning when Vidya talks about the group that Morgan leads. So that we have something called the Doman Parent Support Group, which is an online group for parents on our program. And every week they have a session which is led by my sister Morgan, who, in addition to being a Doman Method coach, is also a life coach. And so she, each week there's a different topic, a different, but it's a great opportunity for parents on the Doman Method to connect, learn from each other, get support, and just get energy for the road ahead. Jagjit and Colleen, any questions that you have for Vidya?
I don't have any questions, but there are two questions in the chat box. One is from Haley and one is from Indian mom.
Okay. Well, I see one there was one that came in from Molly, and Molly is saying, my girl is 11 years old. She has difficulty in learning. Her IQ level is 78. She has huge deficits in doing math, handling numbers, clock, and logical reasoning. She's less socially confident and not talking at her age level. So, Vidya, any of those issues that were mentioned resonate with you? Difficulty in learning, math challenges, less socially confident. Were there some of the issues Adya was dealing with? Some of those things came up.
Yes, some of those things, of course. So I think I have also thought it is being confident socially, but somewhere I've realized she's 8 years old now. So I think in the formative years, right, the child has never understood maybe the reason for socialization, right? So she has seen other kids doing things. So for the other kids, whatever things which were normal for the other kids, right, going and interacting, etc. I think it was never in Adya's to-do list, if I have to so call, have it, So I think so that for her it was normal that she was a very smart child. She realized in a park, she knows that she's different. Every single time I've seen her, she knows that I'm different and I'm cool about it, and I don't feel the need to interact with others, and hence I don't. I will play. I will do things on my own. So this doesn't mean. I used to think that similar to Mali, that my child is not confident, hence she's not going and interacting with others. But later, after a very an in-depth immersive journey that I'm having with Doman, I've realized that what is the need for her? Look at things from the child's perspective, right? I mean, the child thinks that this is normal for her. That's what has been normal. So I think my perspective is very different, Spencer. So that's what I have learned in terms of social interaction. But now she understands, yes, it's nice to interact with people. So she wishes people in the lift. When they wish her, she wishes back. But if she's comfortable with someone, she would wish back. If she isn't, she wouldn't care, what they feel. But that's being very rude. But I'm yet teaching her all of those. But she doesn't understand, right? I mean, she doesn't understand the pros and cons of some of those expected behaviors. But yeah, and also what are those you know rules or certain definitions. You want to define those boundaries, right, for her. So with whom you can interact, what are the social ways to conduct yourself. So I'm still, it's a long way, but yes, I can relate. So I'm not sure if this child is less confident. Maybe the child thinks that this is my normal, so I'm okay not to interact with. So that's been my learning from thinking that my child is lacking confidence to understanding my child thinks this is normal and this is my life. Because I was seeing things from my perspective, and I thought, what would she be thinking? This is my view. So hence I have never forced her to interact with anybody. But sometimes she has surprised me going and interacting with a very senior adult, like 70 plus year old grandma walking in a park. She would just go and touch her skin. She would say hi, and the grandma would respond. So I have encouraged that as well. So I have left it to her to kind of pick up, what she's comfortable with. Now she's getting more verbal. She can speak to her teachers that I mentioned to you. She's okay greeting them, thanking them when she leaves the class, etc. So those things she does. So I think I'm just going based on her cues and her comfort right now. I'm not forcing her to kind of do it. But yes, I'm just trying to create those with the code of conduct program that you guys taught me, just creating those boundaries right now.
Yeah, and a couple of other thoughts about Molly's question. The first thing is, Molly, IQ tests are not always good measurements of the intelligence of children with special needs. In fact, it's often a very faulty test. And I could get into the long history. I have on other episodes of why IQ tests are problematic. But I don't think we've got the time for it today. But needless to say, it's not a good measurement for cognition, especially for a child who might have focus challenges, speech challenges, manual challenges with answering test questions, and so on. But everything that you've mentioned, Molly, we're very used to working with the program. I mean, math challenges, social challenges, speech problems. So, absolutely, I see that Molly has left her WhatsApp number. So, Jags, I'm sure you can reach out to her.
Yeah, so I already know her, so she was interested. Yeah, she knows it. So for every parent, I have their number and I'm contacting them. We have another parent, Spencer, and this question is for you. This question is for Spencer, and I can read the question if you want. This is a parent who is coming for an appointment in May. So this is from Vinay B. His child is 5 years old and he has been diagnosed with CTNNB1 gene syndrome. He is having global development delay and all the milestones are delayed. With physiotherapy, the child is able to stand and walk, of course, with one finger support. And they have asked you, how can we remove fear from my child? He can walk with AFO, but he has a fear that he might fall. He is not able to speak meaningfully, only able to say random words or sounds only. No words, actually, it's sounds only. Yeah.
Yeah, really good question. So generally, when children are fearful of walking, there's usually two main reasons. The first is the more obvious reason, which is balance. If a child doesn't have good balance, it's going to be scary for them to walk. And the way we address that with the Doman Method is we have various balance development activities that we do with children to help develop the balance areas of the brain. And that really helps them walk and hopefully in the future run and skip and jump too. And then, but another reason, which is less obvious why many children are fearful, is vision. Many children who have neurodevelopmental problems don't see the environment well, and that can make it scary for them. If they don't have, for example, depth perception, Vidya mentioned this when she said Adya was walking down the stairs and she would kind of like get a grip on her mom's hand. That's because the child isn't able to perceive the depth of each step. And that's scary if you don't know, is the step this deep or this deep? If you miss your footing, you'll go falling down the stairs. And so many children have depth perception issues, and that makes it difficult for them to see the environment clearly. It's kind of like, imagine walking downstairs in the darkness. We all know what that's like. It's scary. You don't know where the next step is. You hold on to the railing. You're very tentative. So for many children, it's similar to that. So we would do programs with your child both to help balance development and vision, and I think we could definitely help your child. There's also Vinay, since you and Jagjit are in touch, Jagjit, there's a wonderful family. They live in South America, but they have a child with CTNNB1 syndrome. And they post a lot online about their experience on the program. And the girl, I just saw a video that they posted the other day of the girl running. When she started the program, she could not walk. She learned to walk and to run. So Jagjit, if you remind me, I'll send you that Instagram page, and then if Vinay wants, he can follow. Sure. I think you'll find it inspiring.
Definitely. And there is another question for you. So I think so. It's from Haley, and Colleen must be knowing her, but Haley has two questions, and she's waiting for your answer.
Okay, great. So Haley's asking, how often do you see aggression? For example, my son is closest to autism, no formal diagnosis, 4 years old. He's very angry and he can't speak for his needs. Right now, I remain calm and let the meltdown fizzle out. Then I offer help and give the language. Now he says no screaming, but still does it. Advice. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Vidya, you want to talk a little bit about did you ever have issues with Adya with aggression or meltdowns?
Not aggression, but meltdowns, yes, because that's how it was, right? So, so it was always the guess game, like what Haley's saying. If it's hunger, I'll wait to, So I think I've always, that time my awareness level was very limited. So I would kind of wait patiently, and I'll keep encouraging her there that I'm there with you, I'm listening. Let me know. I'll encourage her to show that point of time. ABA in her ABA classes, they were teaching her science, and then eventually, verbalizing the science that they have taught her for those specific, things that they associated, right? So if it's food, how she's to ask for it. So I think it was really tough. So I was not able to deal with those meltdowns either, like Haley. So it was very tough. So I would offer. So for me, it was always option A, option B. So I'll run through my list of options that I have, and looking at the clock, right? So that's what I used to do. It was very tough. So at that point of time.
Vidya, sorry to interrupt you. When you say option A, option B, you mean you were giving Adya different options, like choices, or you mean like you were running through different strategies?
So no, she would be crying and screaming, right? So
Yeah.
I would anything visual at least will get her attention, because she's not going to listen to me talking. So I would show her a specific food or a snack that she would want to. If she picks it up, okay, my understanding is okay, she's hungry. Or I would ask her. I would check with her if she has pain in her stomach. If there is something, I would use the word pain again and again to find out if there is any other body parts, headache. Because Adya, when she was between 2.5 to 3.5, that 1 year age, she would never used to sleep continuously. So she would, at least in a week, 2 days, she would wake up in the wee hours and she would be awake. She would be extremely sleepy, but she would never be able to continuously sleep. So, because of that, her sleep routine cycle is disturbed. So maybe because of that, she has. My guess was as a parent was, okay. Is there a headache? Is there a discomfort? Are you feeling sleepy during the day? So all those options. So I would ask for pain. I would ask for food. I would ask, I would show her a pillow saying you want to sleep. So those were the things that I used to do when pre-Doman era. But post Domin era, I think she has evolved. I have evolved. So I knew that, how to, understand her needs. So I think now so she would say, sleep, I'm sleepy. So she would just drag me, and yeah, we're done with
Yeah,
it.
I mean, speech is so important because obviously if a child is able to speak what they feel, often that can avoid meltdowns. And so, Haley, of course, with the program, we try to improve speech, but then we also have activities like the choice board. Vidya made a mention of this earlier about giving a child choices on a board. That program is explained in the book, Haley, the Doman Method from Special Needs to Wellness, where there's a section on communication, and part of that chapter is on the choice board. And that we often use the choice board as a way to try to communicate with a child who doesn't have a lot of speech. So communication is a huge part of it. We also do teach strategies for dealing with meltdowns. But I would say that more important than that, addressing the root cause issues of the neurodevelopmental issue, like helping speech development, reducing sensory issues. For some children, they might have auditory, like hearing hypersensitivity issues, tactile hypersensitivity issues, which makes their environment feel very chaotic and overwhelming to them. Some children have sleep problems, right? So when you kind of mix all of these things together, often it results in meltdowns. So, yeah, Colleen, do you have something you want to add to that?
Well, I wanted to mention that Haley they are coming for an appointment with us, but not until August. So she's, early in the process. And I just told her, definitely come to the webinars, whenever you can. This is a great place to ask these questions, in addition to being in touch with your staff coach, because then other families can hear the answers as well. And it's a whole thing, we know, but yeah, when you're living with it, it's like, is there anything I can do right now? But all of this, I'm curious to know though, Haley, you say he says no screaming. Does that mean like he'll say no screaming and then continue to scream? Because that's a very little kid thing to do. Like, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I need to do this. So I'm going to do this, but I know I'm not supposed, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Okay. We've got a few questions on Instagram. So let's make this we'll have to make our answers here like a speed round. Okay. So we have one question that says, I started with my daughter when she's 7 months old, and we continued teaching subtraction. So this parent started a Doman math program. So she taught a subtraction stage, including 4 numbers. My daughter is now 5 years old. Okay, she's at kindergarten now, but I can see that she's not strong with math. Okay, so, for this mom, I'm not sure if your child has a neurodevelopmental issue, like if your child has special needs, or if you're using the Doman method for early education. But I think the best thing for you to do is if you send an email to hello@domanlearning.com. We have Doman Learning hosts courses for parents of well neurotypical children who are using the Doman method to teach their children reading and math. And so if you reach out to Doman Learning, I'll put the email address here so you can copy it down. We can give you access there to a math course that talks about, for children, for example, who are 5 years old, what's the best way to approach teaching math. Okay. And by the way, this is the email address I would recommend basically for parents of children who are well, have no special needs. Jagjeet, would you mind, for Indian parents who want to learn more, do you mind sharing your email address? If you type it into the comments box, I'll throw it up on the screen. All right, next comment comes from Ashley. Do you have any therapies that would help with eating, such as issues with chewing, swallowing? Vidya, out of interest, did Adi have any chewing, swallowing issues?
Chewing, yes, a lot of issues. So I think I can't pinpoint a particular program that kind of helped her, but what I've seen, Spencer, from the time before Domin and now,
Yeah.
she takes a lot of time to chew and kind of improved a lot. So because we never now, and we have also learned that we serve the food differently, so nothing is mixed with, if I'm giving a small portion of a rice with something, all the dishes are kept separate. We just allow her to kind of figure out what she likes, the way to club things and eat things together. So in a ball, everything is served separately, but her chewing has improved a lot than what it used to be. She used to just gulp down vegetables in the past, steamed vegetables, but now we see a whole lot of improvement. So I can't really pinpoint which program, but I think it's more the awareness. She's more interested what you serve, what's there for me for the lunch, what's there for the snack. She would like to know so I think there is a lot more involvement. Earlier, I think she wouldn't bother what's served on the plate. No interest, because of which she never asked for any extra portions or something. This is my observation of how she has changed. So asking for more or saying no for a particular thing. So it's based on her choices. I think she's been able to sit down calmly in a lunch table, observe what is being served, enjoy the taste, enjoy the food, even though it is the salt less version. She also finds out if others are having salt version. She would keep checking out your plates, and she knows that you guys are cheating. So I think the awareness and observation, staying calm, and has really helped her. One, but I think it's a collective. I think there are lots of program speech. There are certain oral exercises that we do. It's a combination of too many things. I guess I'm not able to pinpoint a particular program.
Yeah, I think that the two main programs we would do with a child who has feeding issues is, first of all, we have breathing programs that are aimed at helping improve respiration and increase oxygen delivery to the brain. And we don't often think about breathing and eating being interconnected, but they're incredibly interconnected, because if you can't regulate your breath, like imagine trying to eat something and swallow it, but you're not able to hold your breath as you do that. You know, we take these things for granted, but many children with special needs, they can't do that. And so that helps with feeding. And then we also, as Vidya mentioned, we do a lot of stimulation in and around the mouth to help the child feel their mouth better. And then maybe I'll throw in here, Ashley, for some children, especially if they're picky eaters, interestingly, smell stimulation can help. Like giving them different kinds of foods to smell can really kind of increase their interest in food, expand their palate in terms of trying different kinds of foods. All right. Well, I think we've gotten to all the questions. Vidya, any questions from your side?
Typical question that I keep asking Jagjit is, at sometimes I'll say, you have to divert me to this parent who is doing this, who's doing that. So to keep my motivation, in check all the time. But otherwise, I today I don't have any questions to bother you, Spencer. I'm being nice.
I think your idea of connecting with other parents and following what they're doing to keep yourself motivated is great. It makes complete sense. Okay, I have for any parents in India who want to learn more about our program, I'm putting Jagjit's email address up there on the screen, jagjit@domaninternational.org. I'll leave it there for a second in case you want to take a photo of it or copy it down. Colleen and Jags, any final thoughts from you?
Jags, go ahead.
I always have something to say, but you can say.
I was just going to say, parents everywhere, whoever's joining us, we had several parents here today who either are coming for an appointment, or one mom who is literally in our office right now and said they're having a great day, which is good. But yeah, any questions you have, don't hesitate. Send us a direct message. We're the people who look at those direct messages. They don't go into a pot somewhere, and we'll get right back to you. Or email us directly to contact. But we want to get you the answers that you're looking for. So please reach out.
I just feel this session was to me, it was very short. But if you have any questions, you have my email address. Just contact me and I'll be there to help you out with any of the questions, because as Spencer mentioned in the beginning, I'm also a cognitive staff coach. So the areas where I can really help you, of course, with everything, I'll be doing that. So I'll be happy to help you with your questions.
I want to thank Vidya too, just for sharing everything. I know, Spencer, you're going to thank Vidya as well, but from my perspective as the director of reps and talking to parents every day, it's just every family, they're going through the same journey of what do we do? Is this the right answer? And having a mom here to talk about it in your reality is so helpful. So thank you.
Thanks, Colleen. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we really, really appreciate it, Vidya, and I'm sure your thoughts and comments are already inspiring others. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thanks, Vidya, Colleen, Jagjit. Thanks so much for joining me, and everyone will be back here next week. All right, have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Bye.